loves extra content.
Well, there you go. DVD extras.
Yeah, I think he's gone through the DVD extras of Frozen. And he just likes that kind of content so much. Because he's got kids, like, not just for him.
Oh, yeah.
Well, speaking of Frozen, why don't we get to this week's episode of Reflex Save, where you're in a blizzard in a city.
Nice.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Some of my segues work. What do you guys remember about last week?
That Horacio has been recalled by his church.
Are we going to have to say farewell to Horacio?
Why are you saying it like that?
Find out next
I hope
week.
not.
Next week on Reflex Save to the music.
We also spoke with speaker Siva in Cardinaval. We had a Pilates session and then departed from there in probably mid-morning, I guess.
Trying to beat the blizzard.
Yeah.
Trying to beat the blizzard, which we did, thanks to, I think,
Kind of.
some good rolling.
I think I would say you didn't beat the blizzard, but some very good survival rolls helped you stay on track. There's a very good chance you guys would have gotten lost then.
You did good.
You did good, Bron. And you headed into Bryn Shander, deciding to go to the House of the Morninglord, not only to see Mishan, but also try and catch up with Velian as well.
Who?
Velian?
Valine. Why do
Sure.
no one remembers her name?
Limbaugh.
Listen, if you guys aren't going to get the name right, how am I supposed to get the name right?
You have the book open.
Yes, so you were going to go catch up with Valine, and also you wanted to speak to Devessa at some point, but as discussed, you were sidetracked by Father Augustine and Sister Erin, who are from the Church of Kalemvor in Baldur's Gate.
Oh, and Aaron was like staring at Horatio through a door.
Creeping on Horatio.
Yeah, just partially open door. Fucking weirdo.
But where we left off was you were heading into Valine's room, which is bustling with kobolds waiting on her, seemingly hand and foot. Oh, welcome to my temporary abode. Heroes of 10 Towns, Dragon Slayers.
Dragon Cowboy.
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
It's new.
I see. How are you all feeling?
Revitalized. I feel pretty good, actually. All things considered. Yeah, cold. Always feel cold here, though.
Oh, excellent. Well, I suspect, since I am seeing you here, you are willing to listen to my proposal, is it not? Are you not?
Yes, that's right. We came to hear all about your special job you have for us.
Excellent.
But also, it must be said, Wodun, we also would like a little more information from you after that, if that's all right.
Please. Well, how about I put my proposal first, and if you have any questions, we can continue from there. Right. Well, I need your help to find an ancient city buried under the ice. This city, Yithrin, is a lost fragment of the Empire of Nethril. Those wizards created many magical items we find scattered across the world today. It holds magic beyond our wildest dreams, and we might even find something to end this hateful winter. Intrigued?
History check on all of those nouns.
Yes, sure. Go for it.
Did she say it's a hidden city beneath the ice?
An ancient city buried under the ice.
19.
19. Okay. The Empire of Nethril rings a bell. You're not familiar with Yithrin specifically, but it is true that a lot of powerful ancient artifacts scattered across Faerun today can draw their roots from the Empire of Nethril. And so they are prized possessions from a lot of modern wizards to collect, because some of the art of creating them has been lost to time, and they can't be recreated in any other way. So what you know, if we're talking about the ancient empire of Nethril in particular, there are modern sort of places where different cities of Nethril were, but one of the famous things that, as far as you're aware, that Nethril had was flying cities. And so when You're not sure of the exact circumstances, but when the Empire fell, many of those cities fell to Faerun itself. Some of them being completely destroyed in the process, some of them becoming the basis of other cities across Faerun. So talking about an ancient city of Nethril buried in ice, it's highly likely that it was one of these flying cities that crashed to the ground somewhere in what used to be at the time the Dale. But we're talking about like thousands of years ago.
Alright then. So, an ancient city fell into the ice somewhere up here and has been since... wouldn't be covered in, like, lots and lots of ice by now?
Indeed. Yes. But, using divination magic, the Arcane Brotherhood has learned that the city is buried deep within the rugged glacier. But the glacier can be cracked open at a place where the waterfall once flowed down its side, but has since frozen. We've already found the waterfall. All we need now is the magic to break the glacier.
Are you from Luskan?
Personally, I hail from elsewhere, but Luskan is where the Arcane Brotherhood is from.
Do we have reservations about working with the Arcane Brotherhood?
I don't know, Wodun.
Look at Wodun.
Do I have reservations about working with the Arcane Brotherhood?
I mean, maybe.
The guy who tried to kill you? And your hammer?
I don't know if he was from the Arcane Brotherhood.
What was your faction called?
Maybe he was, because he was the Archmage of...
If he's a wizard from Luskan, like, out of character, if he was a wizard from Luskan, chances are he was a member of the Arcane Brotherhood.
He was like the Wizard of Luskan. I can't remember what they were called. The Swords of the North, I think, maybe, was my adventuring guild.
Sure.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. I think you mentioned, like, third episode. You're just like, I'm from this, and I have to do things for them.
Yeah.
Please believe me. Let's go.
Reservations with dealing with the Brotherhood aside, whilst I am part of the Brotherhood, we are in competition. Would that be adequate? We're all looking for the lost city of Yithrin, and I intend to be the first one of the Brotherhood to find it.
Wait, so you're in the Brotherhood, but you have competition with the Brotherhood?
Indeed. You wizards are...
Jerks.
solitary folk. Oh, that's quite rude. We are all different powerful wizards in our own right. We formed the Brotherhood, but, well, there's a bit of friendly competition between us, if that makes sense. Please, sit. You're all standing. This is making me feel awkward. I can get you some tea and biscuits, if that's okay.
Certainly, yeah.
And the little kobolds start, like, rushing around, getting the seeds.
Yeah, let's hear it. I've got other things to take care of.
So, in the end of the day, what we're looking for is the lost city of Yithrin, and we need to see if we can find some of the artifacts that can be found there. I do believe that something there might be able to help you with this dilemma of the endless winter, as we're told.
What makes you think that?
I've learnt a few things on my time. Nethril being a vast empire of wizards, mastery of magics and the weave surpass our own even to this day. There are some specific artifacts that can be found here. I've heard of a number of items that are capable of changing the weather, for example, and if you are at all versed in some of wizardry's highest forms of magics, some of those spells may become more available than you think. I'm talking perhaps a wish, maybe? In any case, I have reason to believe that in Yithrin you will find something that will be of help. And given that, well, the current predicament that the Ten Towns is in feels strange to me. This real character feels like she's hiding something. The gods are fickle. They don't often show themselves so readily as she seems to in this place, and her, how should I say, efforts to cloak the Ten Towns feels to be somewhat desperate.
Can I roll an insight check on her?
Sure.
I might do the same.
Can I assist Wodun? Oh no, my insight's mad. I'm gonna just do it myself.
Mad insights? Maybe you should be rolling. Hang on. Let me have a look here. Oh, mine's okay. Probably not as good as yours. I got a +2.
7.
4. Okay, I'll assist you.
You don't have to. You can do it yourself if you want. You do have a tap.
I don't know if you can assist somebody with insight.
Oh, why did I roll twice?
I don't know, but those were both awful.
Both awful.
Jesus. The legends are through.
Still awful.
Wow.
You should tower.
Alright.
What did you get, Jen?
26.
Oh, 25. You beat me.
10.
Really, you got a 25?
Yeah.
Nice. What's your insight?
+6.
You're both primary wisdom users, so it makes sense.
So whiz.
But even just rolling high is
Yeah.
an achievement in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So what do we end up on?
Not me. I didn't make anything.
25, 26.
25, 26. The impression that you get from her is that she's being genuine in what she's after. She does feel like she's holding something back. And maybe that's to do with waiting to see what your reaction to what she's asking is. Or maybe there is something that she is holding back. She's not lying, but she's definitely omitting one or two things.
Well, I for one am very enthusiastic about undertaking this. I would love to see the endless winter ended. Is there anything else we should know?
It is wonderful to hear that you would be quite interested in undertaking this endeavour. We would need to possibly look for a few items first, which might give us access to Yithrin. In specific, 2 artifacts, I believe, that we will need. The Codicil of White and a Professor's Orb, which was once in my possession some time ago, but had been taken.
Professor's Orb. And what was the other thing?
The Codicil of White.
Where, perchance, would we even get these artifacts?
I have reason to believe that there is a small island in the Sea of Moving Ice that we may be able to procure both of those items. The Codicil is a tall, thin volume bound in white fur that contains a number of different powerful magic passages that, with the right connotations, the right preparations and rituals, you can cast or affect certain things. And so I believe that we will need it as there's a specific poem in there, an incantation of power called the Rime of the Frost Maiden. It may be able to give us access to the glacier that we're talking about.
And how do you propose we get to the middle of the sea of floating ice?
Good question. This is why I was trying to hire some very, very well-known heroes, of course.
Well, that is us.
Fantastic specialization in finding ways to places they probably shouldn't be going. There could be a number of different things we can try. There's a town, I believe. Oh, let the DM look at her notes.
You refer to yourself as a female?
I did this time,
I
yes.
had no idea, Birdie. I'll call you that now.
Oh.
It's not on my map.
Sea of Moving Ice.
Bremen is the closest.
I think it's
It's nowhere near it, though.
I think it's like northwest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can transform into seafaring creatures.
I've already got the heebie-jeebies.
Of what size?
Large?
Oh, yeah?
You know, I had hoped that we might be able to brainstorm something like this. There's only one real thing I can think of off the top of my head is perhaps we could go to Revel's End and see if we can book passage on a ship or something similar. There may be other methods of getting to the island that you are welcome to suggest.
I'm at a bit of a loss.
Yes, I just asked you that question, so...
I don't really fancy the idea of swimming, so
Yes,
maybe a boat is the best way.
Where is Revel's End? It doesn't seem to be on my map here, my PNG.
It is a prison. In fact, near the Sea of Moving Ice, it's not a town, hence why it's not part of the 10 towns. Some of the worst gets sent there. But it would be the one place where passage could be booked across the Sea of Moving Ice. That being said, perhaps there is some information finding we can do and see if there are alternative routes to get there.
What would you suggest?
I don't know. As I said, perhaps talking with some of the denizens of 10 towns, some speakers might have different ideas of how you could get there. Revel's End was the most obvious place to me, but also, I wouldn't want to be trapped in anywhere out in the Sea of Moving Ice, and unless people are quite dedicated to helping us, that is a possibility we could run into.
Say we find these items in both the sea and in the glacier.
Mm.
Are there else to keep, or would we just keep the thing to defeat the winter?
Well, it would depend on how we wish to split the items up. This is mostly my expedition, but I would definitely allow you to keep anything that could allay this situation the 10 towns finds it in. I'm sure we can fairly come up to some sort of distribution of goods, shall we say.
Is there something in particular that you're seeking in this city?
Well, I would like my professor's orb back. It is somewhat precious to me. A sentimental item, of course. But it also has extremely extensive knowledge of different magics that I can divine through it, so it will be useful when trying to find out more about Nethril. Nethril itself I am just interested in, as one could say, some of the artifacts that could be found there. Nothing specific, but I have heard of a couple of artifacts. Maybe you're interested in a Mythalar.
I am.
It is a powerful magic item that has the means to change the weather.
What are the limits? Sorry.
There you go.
What are the limitations on this? Like, how much weather are we talking?
Well, these items are quite dangerous, as it were. They contain quite a lot of power in them, especially to change an entire weather system. I think if perhaps Auriel was not able to keep her spell cast in the air, it would leave open to this kind of magic to maybe permanently revert Icewind Dale's weather to a more normal seasonal approach, shall we say? These items, of course, are extremely dangerous to handle, and I would highly recommend that you don't do so without me. They, in the wrong hands, can be explosive.
Svieta, starts to have a flashback, sweat, and just say, does it look like an orb with 3 rings around it?
No.
Okay.
It does not. What do you mean?
Don't want to talk about it.
Are you sure? It sounds like you have a very specific reaction to the Mythlar.
Well, we came across some orb that changed the weather, although temporarily.
Really? Do tell.
Have I said too much?
We still have it.
Do we?
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore, but I don't see you didn't throw it away.
Who has it?
Carnelian.
Not me.
Carnelian would still have it then if nobody asked for it.
I think it might be worth sharing. I mean, there's no point in withholding this information.
I didn't realize you still had it. Oh, God.
Carnelian just reaches into a bag and pulls
You mean
out
this?
pulls out the what is it called? What fulcrum did you call it?
It was the...
It did look like a gyro.
in the end, you know it as the Summer Star.
Oh, I didn't realize you still had that, Carnelian.
Why would I throw it away?
Because it's horrible.
But it changed the weather once.
It's not what we need. Throw it in the bin.
No.
Whew. That's quite interesting. May I see it?
Yeah, sure.
And she gingerly takes it from you and starts inspecting it. Ooh, that's very interesting. someone tried to recreate weather-changing magic as far as I can see, but it was flawed in some way.
Do you think you could fix it?
The kind of magic you would need to make this work properly is beyond many skill in Faerun, hence why we need something like items from Nithril. It almost looks like someone was trying to recreate a Mythalar and use it to, I would imagine, if... how did you come across this again?
In a small shack up north past
Tourmaline.
A small shack? Okay.
Like in the Lonely Woods? Yeah.
Screech, bring me my book of Nethril. Take a look. And a kobold runs to like a little small bookshelf that's been set up and just reaches in and pulls out a book, like almost reaches past the bookshelf and pulls out another one. And she opens it up and starts poring through it. I do believe someone did try to recreate the item we're talking about. But this would have been a very difficult task to accomplish for even a very powerful wizard. Was the person that was attempting to do this some archmage that I'm not aware of? I would never have attempted this myself. Likely to get yourself killed with all the energies involved.
Yeah, about that.
Yep. Anyway, I don't think he was an archmage.
I see.
He was a cowboy, from what I could gather.
Cowboy.
Well, this seems like someone is trying to recreate the Mythalar we're talking about. I would hazard a guess that they didn't quite realize just how dangerous that could be. In any case, the real item that we're talking about would be much, much more powerful and potent. Still hard to compete against a god's will, though. But it would have a good chance of resetting the weather back in Icewind Dale and remaining magical after the fact. She hands you back the Summer Star.
Is that what the Brotherhood are referring to Auriel as? A god?
No, she is a god. Minor one. But she is one. And she has taken to making the Dale her domain. Gods are always in conflict with other gods. But she's making it a point to try to shut out as many other deities as they can from this place, bending all her will and power to cut off the Dale from everything else. Of course, she can't quite manage it fully. Horacio is a good example of that. Kalemvor's influence comes through. Others also do as well, but direct influence over the Dale is difficult. And, more importantly, when we're talking about Kalemvor or... we're also talking about Lathander. Those are very powerful deities indeed, part of the larger pantheon of Faerun. Smaller deities like Auriel or her competition with Malar, they're quite minor. So she is shutting those small, minor deities out entirely from the Dale. Their influences can't cut through it at all. She has, in a way, absolute power here, but she's expending a lot of divine energy just to keep them out. Her herself may be vulnerable.
Was it worth trying to pursue and engage Auriel herself? Disrupt her ability to maintain this?
Despite everything, she is still a deity, a god. I would recommend not tangling with her, if possible, but if you are so inclined... dealing with her directly in the Dale would be your best chance. If she's expending this much power to keep this place her own domain, I think if you run into her, she may be weakened somewhat than she normally would. So it's possible in an encounter, perhaps you could try and deal with her. If you do manage to deal with her, or somehow stop her from casting her nightly spell, then finding the Mythalar will allow you to permanently change the weather, and she would no longer be able to affect it, at least for some time.
Right, so we could further weaken her by changing the weather around her.
That would be one way to weaken her, yes. Her influence here is paramount to her power. whether you take care of her first and then use the Mythalar later, or vice versa, you could make it conceivably easier to deal with her by weakening her power in the Dale. Yes, that would be one way of doing it.
Is there a particular time that you would recommend striking? Like, for example, on the night of the sacrifice, or something like that? Is there a point where she becomes weaker, would you think?
I would certainly not strike on the night of the sacrifice. That is when all of the 10 towns bend their will to submitting to hers, and she gains the most of her power through those rituals. Look, full disclosure, necromancy is a somewhat speciality of mine, an area of study. I've heard of, and seen evidence of, particular undead creatures that are almost like frozen people walking. Have you ever come across anything like this?
I have.
Yes?
It had light shining from its face.
Yes. Cold light walkers, I believe they are. They are direct sacrifices to Auril that have been come unto her power. Every time a town sacrifices a person out into the wilderness, they are turned into these cold light walkers, and they do her will.
Barbaric.
Indeed, but that's how the towns have decided to try and appease Auril, to keep themselves safe. Little do they know they're really just playing into her power. Although trying to convince a bunch of people of doing something that counters a god's will is very difficult, especially where she holds most of her actual influence.
Well, I can't wait to be the god slayers of the Dale.
That's the spirit. Well, it sounds like we have a bit of an accord then. Perhaps you should take some time to see if you can find out more about how we might get out into the Sea of Moving Ice to look for this island. As I said, the Revel's End would be one option. If you can find some more, perhaps there would be safer passage out there. More reliable.
What was the name of the island?
As far as I'm aware, the island itself has no name. But it is somewhat connected to Auril. The codicil itself is written and guarded by Auril's followers. The Brotherhood's divination magic revealed that the book is being held on the island in the Sea of Moving Ice. It's shrouded in mist, and has often been a warning to sailors out in the area to keep clear, as they are unable to find safe passage often through these ice and rocks with the reduced visibility. Conversely, it makes it somewhat easy for sailors to identify when they are getting close, as the mist starts becoming denser and denser. I believe we will find it if we talk to a seasoned sailor, or someone else that is familiar with the Sea of Moving Ice itself.
Sounds good. I don't know about you guys, but my equipment is getting quite worn, and with the limited means that we have in the 10 towns, I don't know how we're going to get better gear for this epic adventure that we're going on. I wonder if there's any way that we would be able to get some better adventuring gear.
I would
just
say...
thinking out loud to the party.
He makes a very good point. We're really struggling.
I would say that Bryn Shander is your best bet to try and get anything now that East Haven has apparently been destroyed. Are there specific things you're looking for?
Improved weaponry, magical doodads, anything that we could possibly help to make this adventure go quicker. We might have to save up some money, could take some time, we'll have to do a few jobs, be able to afford things, could take months.
Really now? I feel like you're stalling. Most of my equipment is suited for wizards, not really suited to stout adventurers like yourself.
Hey, I'll take what I can get.
Well, if you can give me a very specific item you're looking for, perhaps I can see if I've got something.
I've heard rumors of a rare pearl that can be activated using a fancy word that gives an additional bout of magic ability.
A pearl of power.
Oh, is that what they're called? I wasn't sure. I just heard of it.
I don't think I have one in my possession, but maybe I'll find one from someone in town. Perhaps? I'm not local to here, so it's quite difficult to know. Perhaps there are some other trinkets that you've been looking for some time, asking the DM over and over again in chat about what you wish.
Well, there was one other thing.
Do go on!
I am somewhat of a collector, and there's a very specific item that I'm collecting, and it's the eyes of the undead in gems that are worth 150 gold pieces or more.
Oh, I see. You're after a material component for a spell by the sounds of it.
That's correct.
You know, of all people to ask, you've come to the right one. As I said, necromancy is a speciality of mine, an area of study. Perhaps I could procure such an item for you.
That would be amazing.
It's really quite difficult to come across the appropriate gems here in Icewind Dale. They normally cost so much, but I'm willing to give you somewhat of a discount, given that we are in a mutually beneficial arrangement.
I have one more question for you.
Ask away, dear boy.
Do you know another wizard in the Brotherhood named Gromph?
Gromph. Not one of the Brotherhood. No. But a powerful wizard from, well, not originally from Luskan. He's been making Luskan his home for some time. Sort of as a displaced puppy, I would say. Although I wouldn't say it to his face.
I would.
I would. Oh, sure. He's quite powerful. Why do you ask?
He's taken something very precious to me, and I'd like to get it back.
Really? Why did he take something precious to you?
He wanted my beef cliff. And he got it. In the late of night, he came into my bedroom and got my beef cliff.
I need more context, please.
It's a hammer. A big one.
Big magic hammer.
Okay.
Imbued with power from a god. Is that a fair appraisal?
It was a gift, yes, from a demigod or some demon or something.
Very reassuring. Why did he take your beef cliff?
I could not tell you.
Insight.
On who? On
Wodun. It's only a 6.
Well, that's a 7 on the dice.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't possibly imagine why he would take something of yours. Then I can't really help unless you can give me more information.
It may be related to his wife.
His wife?
Yes.
What about his wife?
She also got my beef cliff. In a different way.
I seem to remember him being angry about something. This might be the little thing he's talking about.
Wasn't that little?
You are in a very dangerous situation. But one of the things I can say is being so far from Luskan has probably prevented you from being totally erased. Gromph is not one for getting his own hands dirty if he can get away with it. He often works through proxies or minions that he sends out in his stead if it's something that he can't be personally bothered with. You must have really made him angry to stalk you this far. Then again, if what you're saying is true, I could imagine he would be quite angry. How did you say this beef cliff got stolen again?
He came through some sort of portal. And I don't know if he was physically there or not, but he manifested in my room. And he was able to attack me.
That doesn't sound like his style at all. You saw your attacker?
I'm pretty sure I remember it being him, yes.
Do I remember anything about his appearance as well?
Roll a intelligence check from memory.
I was there. I saw it. Well, I saw the end of it. That's a natural 20.
Nice.
Very specifically, Horatio, you did not see anything in terms of when Wodun described it to you, and when he was describing it at the time, it was like an invisible force. So Wodun, apart from in his dreams, didn't see a physical person taking the hammer lifted up out of the ground and disappear as if it's being put away somewhere. And then you heard someone as if they were walking or running out of the house that you were in. So you guys didn't actually see, apart from in Wodun's dream, you didn't see anyone.
Okay. I'll relay that. Oh.
Yeah, I'll relay it to you.
Yep, sorry.
To the thing. Yeah.
Now that sounds more like his style. Working through someone or something. I don't think he would have personally come to see you himself, although he may have divined himself into your dreams. But something stalking you and wanting to inflict as much pain and torture as possible does seem like his style. There are a number of creatures that fit the description of what you're talking about. I couldn't tell you exactly, but if they took something from you and didn't kill you, leaving you on the brink of death, they might be toying with you. And I would be careful. It means that whoever or whatever it is probably close at hand.
That's good to know. Thank you.
As for finding an item, if Grumph is the person that took it from you, he will most likely want to hold that over you. He will want you to see it when your end comes. You may get a chance to recover your item if you confront this entity that took it from you. Perhaps there is some way to draw it out specifically. I don't feel a presence such as that in this room right now. I keep very close spells to try and keep myself safe when traveling, alarm traps and whatnot, and nothing's been triggered except for what I'm expecting. So maybe we're safe here. But I would recommend, whenever you are not with me, perhaps whenever you're alone, always assume that someone is listening.
Right, well, I'll sleep in here tonight with you.
There's not exactly a lot of room in here. It's a little bit cramped, and she sort of leans back, and she's got like all this space, this little couch that she's lying on.
It's filled with kobolds.
There's a lot of kobolds, yeah.
Why are there so many kobolds?
Oh, they are helping me. They owe me a debt. Let's put it that way.
Insight. Damn it. 7.
I mean, feasible.
Yeah, it is feasible.
If you, you know that it's common practice for kobolds that if you save one of their life, they often feel indebted to you for the rest of theirs. Kind of like the you save this life, it's kind of yours thing. That's not universal across all kobolds, of course, but a lot of clans do operate that way. This kind of honor system.
I would like to ask for one thing, if you happen to have it on you.
Oh, yes, my dear. What can I help you with?
Would you happen to have scale mail?
Scale mail. Well, as much as I do look dashing in just about anything, dearie, armor is not something that I particularly wear. I'm sure in town you may be able to get some scale mail, though, if you need.
Yes, I'll probably go to the Black Irons then.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that anyone would like to know?
Who's your deity?
And what does he do?
Who's your deity?
Who's the deity and what does she do?
If you're asking what deity that I ascribe to, the one that I pay most respect would be Azuth, god of wizards.
Checks out. I have nothing more to say. I don't think I have any sway over you. Someone like you in your station.
Well, you're such a nice young man. You have sway and charm of your own. You don't have to rely on deities to do that.
Have you heard of a book called The Art of War?
Not in this realm.
One of the first rules is to choose your battles carefully.
Ooh,
You're no chance.
very sound advice. Is there anything else I can do for you?
Yeah, I've got one thing, actually.
Sure.
Those two priests of Kellenvoord, have you had any contact with them?
Dour folk. They came in this morning sometime. I believe that Mishan has all day been attending to them. He doesn't seem to be particularly happy about it. They don't seem to like me very much, though. Religious folk tend not to like wizards very much. That seems to be a thing.
Yeah, I get it. You know, religious people don't like smart people. I get it.
I'm not saying that.
I'm in a bit of a predicament, you see.
It is true, though. Yes, well, religious people find that our delving into magics is sometimes counter to the things they teach. At the same time, it's just a fact of life. Wizards and clerics.
If only they knew the power of combining the two.
Oh, I think many a person has tried combining both powers at once before. Exceptionally difficult to combine the energies of the divine and the natural magics of the world and deconstruct it like you would as a wizard. We're getting off topic on things that I'm quite interested in to talk your ear off all day if you wish.
Oh, I'd love to in the future. Once we save the 10 towns, you know, and all that.
Well, I suspect we'll have a lot of time together on the road over the next few days if we have to get to the Sea of Moving Ice.
Oh, you're coming with us?
Of course, of course. I wouldn't miss this for the world. You may need my help, of course, and identifying and handling such items would certainly need my expertise. I wouldn't tend you alone, just the four of you.
Great, well, okay. Where are we at? So you want us to try and find a better way to get to the island, or...?
I think that would be prudent. Perhaps if we can research a couple of different ways to move over the Sea of Moving Ice, we can then make a decision that suits us and the whole group of us to go together, safely, where possible. If we can't find any alternatives, perhaps we make for Revel's End, and see if we can book passage from there.
Well, accessing and traversing the Sea of Moving Ice.
If we can find the Professor's Orb and the Codicil of White, we can then head to the Ragged Glacier and look to split the glacier and arrive in Yithrin.
Was the orb on the island as well, or did you just not mention where the orb was?
And the orb, I believe, is also on the island. We should be able to find them both together.
Right, well, I think we've got some investigation to do.
Well, since a weather event appears to be going on outside, I don't suspect we'll be moving anywhere in the immediate future. Perhaps we should see what the weather is like tomorrow morning and look to set out from there. Or if you wish to wait a couple of days as you talk to more people across the Dale, perhaps we can go further and wider. But I would suspect that Bryn Shander is one of the best places to be. One of the largest towns, and the most well-equipped town, and since the only big competition with it, East Haven, has been destroyed, most of that knowledge will come here out of refugees. There's quite a lot of refugees from East Haven that made their way here. You may be able to find some people as well from that proclivities. If you know of anyone that has vast knowledges that they had access to in East Haven, perhaps they would also have a good idea. Other than that, I believe Targos is another big town. But it's not as big as Bryn Shander. I still think that here is your best bet.
Absolutely. I think even more so now, like you said, given the circumstances, here is by far the best place to search. So,
and with your warnings about the dragons and having more people evacuate to Bryn Shander, there's more people here than there usually are. So you may be able to find more information here than you normally would be able to find out.
Is there a refugee camp that we could check out, or where are they holding up?
I think you may need to speak to the speaker to see what they've organized. I am not 100% sure. A lot of people are scattered to and from the place. I know for a while Mishan had people held up here, but since the efforts to send people to help in East Haven and Goodmead and Duggan's Hole, I know she had a little cleric that was part of her clergy that she sent out one of those places. Small, little, gnomish man. Very depressing.
Copper.
Oh, yes, that was his name. Oh, he had such a sad look on his face. Anyway, he's been sent to one of those 3 towns somewhere, and any other existing clergy. So really, it's just Mishan now. She may be taking in some more refugees over the next couple of days as well to help alleviate some other pressure on other resources.
Did you happen to notice any other followers of Callan amongst the refugees?
The only ones of Callan that I've noticed are the 2 ones that are here now.
They are very judgy, aren't they?
In my experience, most religious types are. No offense to you.
Don't take it. I'm a very early religious member.
Well, perhaps you can take that open mind with you and really unlock what the will of Callan is. Not my place. That's not my jurisdiction, shall we say.
Indeed. Well, I think we're going to have some very interesting conversations on the road.
You're
Right?
definitely coming?
Well, that was pretty slick there, Svieta. You cornered me really good there. We'll talk later, okay?
Just runs
Yes.
up. Bye!
See you later!
I'm going full Nelly and Brulia. I'm torn.
Feel free to come and speak to me at any time. But I will start making organization for us to head out wherever we need to go.
We'll start making some inquiries and we'll keep you updated very soon.
Excellent. I can see this business partnership is going to go very well. Okay. Ta-ta!
Goodbye.
So you all leave. I'm interested to see what each of you are doing now after you leave her room.
What's the weather like?
The weather outside is frightful. Calling back. The weather is still like you can see the snow beating on the windows, and the braziers are doing the best they can to keep back the cold. It looks like there's going to be a blizzard for some time.
Alright, sing the speaker is a tomorrow job.
Yeah.
What would you like to do, Carnelian? You've got a bit of time.
Are all the kobolds like in what's her name?
Valine.
Levine? No, that's
Abrils.
Did you do that on purpose?
Levia?
Valine.
Valine. Valine.
Where's
Carnelian.
Sticks and Stones?
The last you saw of them, they were handling the dogs in the kennels. So conceivably, you haven't seen them in Valine's room or anything like that. There was a different set of kobolds. So they're probably still out there dealing with the dogs unless you see them elsewhere.
Okay, well, Carnelian will go out to check on Chucky.
Okay. Horatio, what are you doing at this time as well?
Well, do you want to start with me or finish with me?
Well, I just want to get a general idea, and I'm going to go around
Okay.
from there.
I want to go talk to Mishan first.
Okay. Wodun, is there anything you want to particularly do?
He might go, like... Is it, like, too intense outside to be walking around, or...?
It is intense, but within the city walls, you have at least some degree of protection. And because the houses are so close, you can kind of pick your way in. You just have to be a bit careful wandering about.
All right. Well, he's just going to, put the cloak up to protect him from the weather and go for a wander around town and just see if he can find out where the refugees are and see what's going on around town.
Sure. And for Svieta,
Is it still trading hours?
Perpetual trading hours.
I would suggest that yes, but with the blizzard, a lot of places might be closing early. So as long as the blizzard alleviates, the morning might be better for that kind of thing.
I will prepare a meat bird instead.
Okay. Well, let's start then with Wodun. So Wodun, you are doing a bit of a scout of the city. Hood up, and I'd like you to do an investigation check. This is represents you talking to people, finding out information. You're looking for the refugee camp in specific, and seeing what you can find out.
Just a montage of him.
Nat 20, baby!
Oh, hell yes.
With a +3.
Excellent.
Far
So
out.
this check represents what I would say is about 2 hours worth of you doing a bit of, hitting up some of the guards in the city, talking to some of the people who are clearly refugees from other places, and, having to sweet talk them or do whatever you needed to do. It appears that the refugees are mostly being held up in a few houses behind the city hall. So you know the city hall, or the town hall, sorry, is central to this map. And there's a group of houses that sit behind it. It's particularly one that has a big open courtyard, like fenced off courtyard. That's where the majority of refugees are, where possible, getting camped out, let's say.
Okay.
A lot of other refugees are being basically boarded in other citizens' houses where they can. So think of them like an international student coming in and boarding in a place. So wherever possible, town citizens are trying to also help, because there's just so many of them. But if you're looking for a main camp, it would be behind the city hall.
And what's the general vibe of the city? Are people, relieved and happy because the threat of the dragon's gone? Are they stressed because there's so many extra people in the city and everything's a breaking point?
Yeah, the vibe you get is that there is a palpable sense of relief of people that you talk to. This threat of the dragon could have been taken as something that was not really real, but because a lot of those refugees are there's a few from Goodmead, mostly from East Haven, and there's one or two people from Duggan's Hole. They've witnessed it firsthand and told people about it, but when news came that the dragon had been felled by heroes, there's a relief there. There are a number of people that are still distraught that they've lost their homes, they've lost everything, and even loved ones to this threat. And there is a tension dealing with some of the actual residents of Bryn Shander where it's just so packed. That being said, a lot of the people that you talk to from Bryn Shander are basically a little bit thankful, because if this is how busy it is now, can you imagine if they had refugees from all over 10 towns come to Bryn Shander? It would be packed to the gills. And so it's a mixture. It's a mixed bag, but generally it's positive.
Okay.
If a bit strained. So you're able to speak to a lot of people there in the course of that 2 hours. Make me a perception check.
19 plus 2, 21.
Nice.
Every so often when you're walking around talking to people, it's still a heavy blizzard. So there's a lot of snow coming down. And you're focusing on the task at hand, talking to people, trying to find out information, and you're wandering the streets, and every so often you sort of look behind you, just trying to check out where you are, and you could swear that you see, in the limited vision that you've got, some sort of figure in the snow. No distinct features or anything like that, almost like the snow is hitting something and stopping. And then every time you catch sight of it, it sort of shakes off and melds back into the blizzard. Something appears to be following you, and you can't quite see it. But you are able to make it back to the House of the Morninglord safely, if that was your intent.
Yeah.
Okay. Svieta, you are in I don't know where you would be to do this, but
I'm just going to be in the foyer.
Okay.
Or whatever it's called inside the house.
Set up a bath in the foyer.
Yeah.
I need a bath now for my meat birds. So just prepare it, get some meat out. It'll just be a sparrow.
Okay.
A little town sparrow.
So you create a sparrow. It turns to you and goes, "Sup, G?
Oh, fuck.
Got a message for me?"
Fucking speechless.
Oh, hell yeah.
Sparrow native meat.
So,
Sup, dude. Hello. Don't actually, no, fuck you, don't talk to me.
it's too late. We're having a conversation now.
Best defense is the offense.
I beat it up. I punched the meat bird.
Oh, that's just uncalled. That's uncalled for, man.
Alright, so I'll just grab it, hold it. Clasp it, so my whole hand encompasses the bird, and I just talk to it like it's a microphone.
Hey, you're getting a bit touchy-feely with me now.
Yeah, I know, shut up. Go to the Black Iron Blades, talk to Hren, that's her name. She doesn't have a nose.
I see.
Yes. And I need to do that in real life.
For those at home, she's holding an invisible sparrow. A meat sparrow, specifically.
I think that's her name, hang on. I had her name and then I lost it.
Sounded right.
Hruna.
Hruna.
Hruna?
Haruna or something like that, I
Hruna.
She's Korean.
I think it was Runa.
Runa, yeah.
Yeah, go to Hruna.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. She's at the Black Iron Blades. Go there, ask her to start making me scale mail that's minimal in metal. You fucking love it.
To infinity and beyond! Bam!
Not
He just
making that
launches
again.
out.
Thank you. No thank you.
Carnelian, you're heading outside to where...
Stables.
The kennels.
Cows.
You head out to the kennels. The weather is particularly bad, but once you get to the kennels, you sort of open them up, and you get a little bit of an enclave before you get to the main part, and you can just sort of hear the dogs a little bit restless to be inside, but it looks like they've all been taken care of. And you can see a kobold, sort of with a greyish-brown scale colouring, standing off to the side, just leaning back. Looks like they've just taken a moment to take a break. You can imagine if this kobold was a person, they might be having a cigarette break, just slowly drawing.
If this kobold was a person.
What's a cigarette?
Exactly. There's no cigarettes in Faerun. But if they did have one, he would have one right now.
Alright, are you trying to say kobolds aren't people?
Yes.
That's why they're in the stable.
That's why they're... well, that's why they're draconic heritage. They're not people. Anyway.
I don't think that's how that works.
Possibly. He looks up as you come in. Eh?
You seem quite alright.
I was expecting sticks and stones, but I guess...
This is one of them. The sticks.
One of them? Alright.
Sticks here. What's up? Carnelian, was it?
Yes, that is correct. Alright, I'm just gonna come out now. What's the deal with Verlaine?
You know how it is. Elaine's our boss. He employed us a little while back to help her through the Dale. And I feel like we owe her a little bit more since she saved a couple of us when we were attacked, set upon out in the wilds. So, we sort of feel like we owe it to her to continue our services. You know?
No, I don't. That doesn't add up.
Really?
She saved a couple of you?
Well, it was pretty hairy. A couple died.
From
We could have all died.
from what?
We were set upon by a couple of yetis. We probably would have died out there if it wasn't for her. We were already in her service anyway, and she pays us a little bit, so we just decided to extend those services to her. Hey, Carnelian,
Yeah.
what are you doing here?
Is this general, or are you talking like...
What are you doing here with these big folk? Why are you here? Do these people pay you?
One of them makes me speak old. No, I'm more of a cultural ambassador.
Do you really think that that's going to change a lot of people's minds? Being some sort of ambassador of kobolds? Is that what it is?
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm something of a hero now.
Sure, you are. Do you think that extends to all of us? Goodness, no. They see one kobold dancing on stage, helping them out. It's a novelty. The rest of us, still trash. So what are you doing here? What keeps you out of being at home? Why did you decide to come here in the first place?
Well, I didn't decide to come here in the first place.
Really?
No, well,
Why did you leave the spine? Do you remember? I mean, I could see a number of reasons why you might have been taken out here into the Dale and stayed out here on extended sabbatical, but why did you leave in the first place? Just seems very strange to me. I've seen your interactions with the other big folk.
what, you don't think that the treatment of our kind is just perception? You think there's some wall in between us?
I think that the big folk think very little of our kind. A number of different ones. Goblins get the worst of it as well. Is it worth it? We have our own spaces. They have theirs.
We have our own spaces in the middle of caves in mountains where we can get attacked and invaded by any number of things that want to just kill us. I don't know about you, but I think we could be doing a lot better for ourselves.
Six shrugs. Towns get attacked. Caves get attacked. Is it really that different? When you get right down to it, what are you putting so much effort into? Just a question. I'm curious.
Well, what am I getting out of this? Lots of food. Nice places to sleep. I'm getting paid.
Pretty good.
Treasure.
Sure.
But I think the best thing I'm going to get out of this is I'm going to get to write about this. I'm going to be able to choose how this tale is told. And if this tale stars me, people are going to go, huh, he was a kobold. Can't be all bad now, can they?
What if you don't come back?
Hmm?
What if you don't come back? What if you die? Is it all worth risking your life for? How much money have you accumulated since you've been here? Is it not worth it now to just cut and run? You're probably richer than most people back at home now. I'm sure of it.
Absolutely.
You could start your own clutch, your own tribe. Could you not?
If I wanted to.
Just seems strange to me. Why hang out here? I mean, if you're in it for the glory, it just feels like a very, I don't know, lofty ideal. Whereas, really, we look for where our next meal's coming from.
Well,
What's pragmatic?
you're saying that like I'm not being pragmatic. You think I'm not getting meals out of this? You think...
Oh, yeah, I guess.
And I'm
I
still
just-
alive?
Sure.
I don't think that Mr. I'm just gonna do whatever this human wizard tells me to is in a much of a position to question my dragon slaying lifestyle.
Hey, fair enough. Fair enough. Anyway, as long as you know why you're here.
Hey, story's already starting to be told. Song's already being written. Just needs an ending now. And if that ending is I disappear into the glacier and I'm never heard from again, that's the risk I get to take. But if the ending is Kobold saves the Dale, life will be better for all of us.
I hope so. I just feel like you're putting a lot of trust in these big folk.
No, I'm trusting 3.
Sure. Anyway, I probably best be going back to Lady Valine. I'm sure she's been wanting something. We probably won't be hanging around for too much longer. I doubt she'll need our services for too much. Maybe one or two of us might stick around to help drive the carts. I best be going. Good luck. Don't die.
You as well.
And 6 leaves.
Good one.
I got it.
Carnelian looks around the kennel and is like, nobody else is here. Approaches Chucky. Who's a good boy?
And we'll leave that to head back to Horacio. You're seeking out Mishan.
Yes.
And you find her at the altar. She looks like she's paging through a book. She notices you come in. Good evening, Horacio. Good to see you.
Yes, and you, Mishan. I was wondering, could we have an audience in private, please?
Yes, of course. Come to my chambers.
Ooh.
Not like that.
Not
Strange disembodied Svieta. So she leads you away, and she's got like a little, not her bedroom, but like just sort of an antechamber outside of it. And she sits you down, and it's just basically 2 chairs and like a little coffee table. What's on your mind?
Mashan, I find myself at a bit of a crossroads. Tell me, what is your take on Father Augustine and Sister Erin?
If you want my opinion, fairly typical examples of clerics of Glenvor. How should I put it? Career clergy type, if that makes sense to you.
A little. Do I seem like a typical Glenvor cleric to you?
Well, now we get into the crux of the issue, if I'm not mistaken. As you know, and I've tried to teach you, regardless of whether it's Glenvor, whether it's the Morninglord, whether it's Aureel, or someone else, the gods work their way through their avatars, or their representatives, in many different ways. But at the end of the day, mortals are still mortals. And so you get those with ambition that work through Glenvor but still see their own ends out. And this goes for any god from any place. You strike me as someone that's not the typical cleric. Blind devotion doesn't suit you very well. And I would argue that blind devotion is not the only thing you need to be a good cleric. Do you remember when you came here the first time? I asked you why you wanted to be a cleric. Do you remember what you said?
Not the exact words, but probably something along the lines of helping people because it seemed like a useful tool.
Exactly. And do you remember what I said next? I said, why did you choose Glenvor? I was very specific with that. Do you know why?
He seemed like someone who constantly is brushing with death.
Yes, he is. But specifically, he has no strong feelings of whether someone lives or dies based on some altruism. He's neutral. If it's someone's time, it's their time. If it's not, it's not. Glenvor, for example, really dislikes people who dabble with the undead. That's why you get this uneasy feeling every time you see one. All clerics do of certain alignments and domains, but Glenvor in particular get this really icky feeling, as far as I'm aware, that's really counter to their own goals and deeds. So for Glenvor, the handling of the dead, the judgment, as far as I'm aware, is very important.
That ogre was pretty gross.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm sure it is exactly what I'm talking about. In any case, that's why I was questioning. Glenvor isn't in the business of saving people specifically. You can get your divine healing through him, of course, as a boon, as a cleric. But there would be other deities that would be more in line with healing, with saving, redemption. There are plenty of other deities that fall under those categories. But you chose Glenvor. And I wonder if you know why you chose Glenvor.
Sometimes, Mashan, I'm starting to wonder if I know as well. Was it just convenience?
I don't think so. If you ask my understanding, clerics, especially those that grow in power very quickly, like someone I can think of right now, are intrinsically bound to their deities. And so, choosing Glenvor I don't think was a random happenstance. I don't think that you just thought of the first deity you could see that might deal with death. I think you were drawn to him, because I don't think you would get the power you have now if you weren't.
Are you saying perhaps that rather than me choosing him, he actually chose me all along?
In so many words, that's one way to interpret it. Other ways could be destiny, fate, predisposition. Could be you subconsciously choosing. I know that you're a learned man. You may have different opinions on how this works. But I can tell you, at least from my perspective, as a follower of the Morninglord, it's more complicated than that. The god's will is almost unknowable to human mortal beings. But there is something there. It's not random. It's not just serendipitous what you chose. The gods don't choose people lightly to be their representatives here in this plane. So, you're not a typical cleric. I would even say you're maybe not a good cleric. In the sense that, if you're following the written rule of Kalemvor, you stray from some of his teachings. But you're a good man. And sometimes, as mortals, we need to consider not only God's will that works through us, that we are representing his faith in this life, and that in and of itself is part of his will. You have your own close connections to your deity. Listen, and I know you are. It sounds like more and more you're listening to him.
I hear him. I feel it.
Feeling most likely. Even here in this place, it's hard for me to feel the Morninglord's light. Aureel has cut a lot of it out, but you can still feel it. In that presence and in that mind, the one thing I would caution you. Be careful about the church as an organization. They represent Kalemvor in a different aspect of his divine will, but that doesn't mean you need to be part of it to be his follower. Does that make sense?
Well, yes, I mean, I never joined with the intention of becoming one of them.
No. And in that respect, I think that you're a better cleric than you let on. Listen to the will of your deity. Think with your heart as well as your head. Decide where you will go. You may not make friends, but I think that the will of your deity will shine through. Make the decision yourself. Carve your own destiny. It's yours. Whilst you pledge yourself to your deity, mankind, mortal kind, is specifically unique in that the gods gave us free will, regardless. Think about that.
I shall. Thank you for your counsel, Mushan. If you had tried to have this conversation with me even a week ago, I feel like the answer would have been quite different.
I don't know if I would have bothered. You had a lot of growing to do in yourself. I can see that you've done that. This expedition has been better for you than you realize. I think you have enough to ponder.
I think so too.
If you need to see me, I will be here. It's good to see you, Horacio. I really thought that you might not make it back.
You too, Mushan. It's good to see you.
Farewell, then. I'll see you possibly in the morning.
Okay, we'll quietly head out of the room.
You head out of the room. The door clicks shut. You turn around, and you see two hooded figures in black standing in the main lobby between the pews. Father Augustine and Sister Erin. They appear to be waiting for you. Next week on Reflex Save.
Get comfortable, Tickers, because you'll be waiting a week.
I'm not there, right?
No, I don't think so. You said you didn't have
COVID.
COVID.
Box of chips, and we were sucking chips together.
You just
Gotta get the salt off it
you
somehow.
suck the salt off, you put it back in the box so the next person can come and get the residual salt.
Took the liberty of pre-sucking your chips.
Oh, they're all soggy. Oh, it's gross.
Oh, there, sailor. Yes, I'm talking to you. Do you yearn for high seas adventure and piratical mayhem at the roll of a D20?
Yes, I'll just toss you your shirt.
Very sassy.
No, I drink beer and I fart in my sleep.
Now that I got your attention with sex, here I have to say,
Welcome to my pub, the Wizard's Sleeve.
It's still a cow that I'm gonna get in a bag. Do you know how big a cow is?
Don't put gold in your ass. That's not the catchphrase we were looking for.
It is one that we often use at the
Enough about where you keep your secret stuff.
It's not
Right.
in my anus. Stop it.
Then sign your name in blood. Join the Rovers and your crew on their adventures every Wednesday, wherever you find podcasts.